NTV News First Edition. It has been a very stressful and discouraging week for many of us, particularly those of us in the St. John's metro region. Well, here to help us with some ways to cope with that anxiety and stress is Dr. Janine Hubbard. Thank you so much for joining me. We're socially distancing again.
We are. I miss you guys in studio, but we're doing, again, as many things as are in our control. And that's actually the very first strategy that I want to remind people of, is because we feel very helpless, we feel very hopeless. There is so much about this situation that feels out of our hands. So what we need to do is focus in on what are the things that are within our control. So things like arranging to social distance, things like making choices to keep yourself as safe as possible.
Now, you know, we're all hearing rumors. We're reading rumors on social media. How do we combat that?
First thing, again, for your own mental health, be very careful about how much time you're spending listening to the news, and particularly on social media. Get your news a couple of times a day from a reputable source, such as yourself. But be very careful, because it's easy to get sucked into a negative void of continually refreshing social media, looking for new information. And it's much harder to sift out what is actual news, what is rumor. The speculations that have been going forth are just increasing everybody's stress, and they're not helping you out.
And of course, then there's the blame game. Who's responsible for all of this? So how do we deal with that?
We need to be kind to ourselves and our neighbors and others, and remember that nobody gets infected deliberately. Nobody spreads this deliberately. We are in the middle of a highly, highly infectious disease and a cluster where oftentimes people are asymptomatic and not aware that they may be spreading. So please reach out to your friends and neighbors with kindness, not anger and fear and stigma.
So how are things different now than they were back in the spring?
Well, this is the thing. We know, on one hand, that we have better supplies. We have been through this. We actually know what worked well coping for each of us. So remember, what were your strategies that worked? What were the ones that didn't? But also just from a knowledge perspective, we understand so much more about the disease, but also we're equipped with lots of tests. We're equipped with PPE. We are in a very different place moving forward that does give us a bit more control over the situation.
And of course, this time around, something we didn't see in the spring or any other time really, and that's teenagers. Teenagers in particular are being impacted at this time. Any specific suggestions just for them, just for young people?
Well, again, this is such a hard time because of so much social isolation, and also because we know the teenage brain often feels a little invincible, invulnerable. So suddenly to be caught off guard like this is catching people's kind of self-image and self-awareness off guard. Be careful not to spend too much time on social media. Be careful not to avoid the rumors, and reach out. Look for your social support, look for your active coping strategies, and take care of yourself. If you're really struggling, there are things like the Kids Helpline has a text line. Make sure you're seeking the help that you need.
And what if you're a teen who what if you're a teen who maybe was somewhere that maybe mom and dad or your family may not have actually been keen on? How do you convince teens to be honest with their family about where they've been and their recent contacts?
Yeah. That was exactly what I was interrupting you on. Yeah, this is vitally important. This is the time to sit down with your teens and say, look, we're not angry, we're not upset. We were all teens once. We all did things that our parents might not have been aware of, might not have approved of. Even the best of us did this, but now is the time to be brutally honest about symptoms, if you're having any, and where you might have been and who you might have been hanging out with, whether or not that's someone your parents approved of. But parents, sit down and have that candid conversation and make sure teens know they're not going to be punished, that their health and safety is so much more important than having snuck out to hang out with some people that, you know, maybe they weren't supposed to.
And if teens are looking for extra help in dealing with the anxiety and stress, so where can they find that help?
There's a couple of things. Reach out to your school guidance counselors. They are there. They are accessible by email or by virtual sessions. So make sure you reach out for them. Use things like the Kids Help phone line or the text line. It's available and readily accessible. And reach out to your friends and family. This is the time to be supportive of each other.
Dr. Janine Hubbard, thank you so much. Hope to see you in person real soon.
Looking forward to it.